Somewhere in the Nevada desert, behind miles of razor wire and armed guards, lies the most classified airspace in America. For decades, whispers have echoed through the American consciousness. Alien spacecraft, reverse-engineered technology, non-human biologics locked in underground vaults. But what if the truth is stranger than the conspiracy? What if the real secret wasn't hidden to protect us from extraterrestrial knowledge, but to hide something far more human? This is the story of Area 51, and it's not about aliens. Let's be clear about one thing from the start. Area 51 is real. It's not a myth, not a Cold War rumor, not a desert mirage. It's a highly classified United States Air Force facility that sprawls across the dry lake bed at Groom Lake, Nevada. For decades, the government refused to even acknowledge its existence. Pilots who flew there signed oaths of silence. Workers were shuttled in on unmarked planes. Maps showed nothing but empty desert. It wasn't until declassified CIA documents surfaced, documents pried loose by researchers and journalists, that the world got its first official confirmation. Yes, Area 51 exists. Yes, it's been operational since the 1950s. And yes, extraordinary things have happened there. But here's where the story takes a turn. To understand what's really underground at Area 51, you have to go back to the beginning, back to the height of the Cold War, when two superpowers stood on the edge of annihilation, each desperate to know what the other was planning. The United States needed eyes in the sky, not satellites, which didn't exist yet, but aircraft that could fly higher and faster than anything the Soviets could shoot down. Enter the U-2, the slender black reconnaissance plane that could soar above 70,000 feet, far beyond the reach of enemy radar and missiles. It was a marvel of engineering, designed in secret by Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works division, and it needed a place to be tested, far from prying eyes. That place was Groom Lake. Then came the A-12, codenamed OXCART, sleeker, faster, more radical than anything that had ever flown. Titanium skin, Mach 3 speeds, a silhouette so strange it looked like it came from another world. Test pilots would take it up at dawn, screaming across the desert sky, leaving vapor trails that glowed in the early light. To anyone watching from the ground, ranchers, travelers, the occasional conspiracy theorist with binoculars, it looked impossible, unnatural, alien. And that's exactly what people started calling it. The CIA would later acknowledge that more than half of the UFO sightings reported during the Cold War were likely misidentified U-2 and A-12 flights. The government knew this. They said nothing, because silence served a dual purpose. It protected classified aviation programs, and it let the public believe in little green men instead of cutting-edge American espionage. But the U-2 and the OXCART were just the beginning. Declassified records revealed that Area 51 also hosted something even more unusual: captured Soviet MiG fighters. The United States had secretly acquired enemy aircraft and brought them to the Nevada desert to study, test, and learn how to defeat them. Imagine the scene. American pilots climbing into Russian cockpits, dogfighting in foreign machines, all under the blazing desert sun, all in absolute secrecy. This wasn't science fiction. This was Area 51's actual mission: push the boundaries of aviation, test the untestable, and stay one step ahead of the enemy. The facility became a proving ground for some of the most exotic aircraft ever conceived, including eventually the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth fighter. Every strange sighting, every impossible maneuver witnessed in the sky above Nevada, every report dismissed as crackpot conspiracy theory. Most of them had a mundane explanation: secret aircraft doing secret things in the most secret place in America. But then came the whistleblowers. In 1989, a man named Bob Lazar walked into a Las Vegas television station and changed everything. He claimed he'd worked at a facility near Area 51, a place called S4, tucked into the mountains. And he claimed that what he saw there wasn't American technology. It was extraterrestrial. Lazar said he'd been hired to reverse engineer alien spacecraft, that he'd seen propulsion systems that defied known physics, that the government was hiding recovered vehicles and studying them in underground laboratories. The interview exploded. Lazar became a cult figure overnight. The first so-called Area 51 whistleblower, the man who dared to pull back the curtain. His story has endured for over 3 decades, repeated in documentaries, podcasts, and internet forums. But here's the problem: none of it checks out. Journalists have spent years trying to verify Lazar's claims. His alleged degrees from MIT and Caltech, no records exist. His supposed employment at Los Alamos National Laboratory, the lab says he worked there briefly as a contractor, not as a physicist. His descriptions of S4, the alien craft, the underground hangars, no corroborating evidence, no paper trail, no colleagues who remember him doing the work he described. Mainstream investigators have repeatedly flagged inconsistencies in his story. That doesn't mean Lazar is lying. It means his claims exist in a vacuum, unsupported by the kind of documentation that would make them credible. And in the world of intelligence and national security, documentation is everything. But Lazar wasn't the last. Fast forward to July 26, 2023, a congressional hearing room in Washington, D.C. 3 witnesses sit before the House Oversight Committee, hands raised, taking an oath. Among them, David Grusch, a former intelligence officer with a background in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. Grusch isn't a fringe figure. He's a decorated veteran with high-level clearances, someone who spent years inside the system. And he's making extraordinary claims. Grusch testifies that over the course of 4 years, he interviewed roughly 40 witnesses, military personnel, intelligence officers, contractors, who told them about a multi-decade program to retrieve and reverse engineer unidentified aerial phenomena, crash retrievals, non-human technology, and, in his words, non-human biologics. He doesn't say aliens outright, but the implication hangs in the air like smoke. The hearing is broadcast live. Clips go viral. The testimony is sworn, official, part of the Congressional record. For believers, it's validation. For skeptics, it's theater. But everyone agrees on one thing. This is no longer fringe conspiracy theory. This is a decorated intelligence officer, under oath, telling Congress that the United States government possesses technology not made by human hands. The Pentagon's response is swift and firm. We have found no verifiable evidence. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, the Pentagon's official UFO investigation unit, releases reports stating clearly that despite extensive review, they've uncovered no proof of extraterrestrial materials in government possession, no verified reverse engineering programs, no recovered craft that defy terrestrial origin. So we're left with a split. On one side, whistleblower testimony, eyewitness accounts, anecdotes from retired officials. On the other, official reports, material evidence demands, and the insistence that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And that gap, that chasm between testimony and evidence, is where the mystery lives. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. If there are no aliens, what's really underground? The answer might be simpler and darker than we think. Governments build deep. They always have. Classified research facilities, hardened bunkers, contractor vaults designed to survive nuclear blasts. During the Cold War, the United States constructed vast underground complexes to protect strategic assets. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's infrastructure. Area 51 likely has underground facilities, but the question isn't whether they exist, it's what's inside them. And the declassified record gives us clues. Hardened test bays, secure storage for classified prototypes, contractor spaces where Lockheed, Northrop, and other defense giants conduct research under layers of secrecy. When whistleblowers describe underground hangars holding exotic craft, they might be conflating these real classified spaces with something more fantastical. The human brain fills in gaps. It turns ambiguity into narrative. A glimpse of a prototype drone becomes a recovered alien vehicle. A classified propulsion experiment becomes reverse-engineered extraterrestrial technology. But there's another layer to this story, one that's harder to pin down but just as compelling: disinformation. There's evidence, not speculation, but documented history, that the Pentagon has used misinformation to protect sensitive programs. If you're testing a revolutionary aircraft and someone sees it, you have two options: admit what you're doing, or let them believe it's something else. UFO sightings in that context become useful. They draw attention away from the truth. They make skeptics dismiss legitimate questions as paranoia. Some researchers believe this is exactly what happened at Area 51, that the government didn't just tolerate UFO conspiracies, it encouraged them. Because as long as people were looking for aliens, they weren't looking at the real programs, the weapons, the surveillance technology, the aircraft that would change warfare forever. It's a hall of mirrors, and that's the point. So where does that leave us? We know Area 51 is real. We know it was used to develop some of the most advanced aircraft in history. We know the government lied about its existence for decades. We know whistleblowers have come forward with claims that, if true, would rewrite everything we understand about technology and our place in the universe. And we know the Pentagon says there's no proof. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Not aliens, not nothing, something else. Something classified, cutting edge, and so sensitive that even today, decades after the Cold War ended, we're not allowed to see it. Maybe the underground facilities at Area 51 hold the next generation of stealth technology. Maybe they house propulsion systems so advanced they seem impossible. Maybe they contain recovered foreign technology, not from space, but from rival nations. Or maybe they're exactly what the declassified documents say: test bays, storage vaults, and laboratories where the impossible becomes operational. What's certain is this: the story of Area 51 isn't about aliens. It's about secrecy, about the gap between what governments do and what they admit, about the human need to believe in mysteries greater than ourselves, and about the uncomfortable reality that sometimes the conspiracy is real, just not the one we expected. The desert keeps its secrets, and maybe, for now, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. If you made it this far, you're part of a small group willing to question, to dig deeper, to separate myth from reality. That's rare. If this story made you think differently about what's hidden in plain sight, consider subscribing, because the truth isn't always where we expect to find it, but it's always worth looking for. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep your eyes on the sky. You never know what's really up there.